Scrubbing up in the finance department.
Do we have everybody?
Hello, y'all.
Okay, we got everybody.
Everybody here?
Yeah, you can start the meeting.
Hi, Tim. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Brian. Hi, Tim.
All right, thanks for joining us via this new technology. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. Present, we have Tim Petrikis and Tim Keeney, Selectmen, Mike Marinaccio and Brian Wissinger, and Kim LaFleur.
We just lost them people.
I'd like to make a few comments before we get into the agenda. This will be a COVID update. Positive COVID here in Summers are increasing. Last week's totals were 15. And so far this week we have an additional 18 cases for a total of 33 active positive cases. These numbers indicate that the virus is spreading, probably due in large measure to returning students and the Thanksgiving holidays. To date, we have had a cumulative total of 130 residential cases. That goes back to March. The prisons have had a total cumulative cases of 291 with 4 to 5 active cases as of this date. We're still in the red zone with 15 cases being the benchmark based upon a rolling average and the state's calculations. A vaccination should arrive and be available sometime around the third week of December. The state has a tiered system as to who will get it and when. Frontline workers and first responders, hospitals, and nursing homes will be one of the first to get it. The state's preference for the vaccine will be from Madeira because it doesn't need the extreme freezing temperatures, which simplifies the distribution. Our ambulance calls have increased due to the uptick in COVID cases. Our supplies of PPE are still very good, and we continue to hand out surgical masks and gloves and wipes and hand sanitizers to town departments that request them. Additionally, the fire department has been delivering surgical masks to small businesses in town that request them. The drive-through COVID testing site, a special note of thanks and congratulations go to Allison Maynard for her successful job in getting a COVID testing site here in town. It was held yesterday at the Department of Public Works building from 9 a.m. to noon, and 101 people were tested. The clinic continues to run every Wednesday from 9 a.m. to noon for the foreseeable future. Our communication outreach notifying town residents via our town website, Facebook, Twitter, strategically placed signs throughout town, the article in the Journal Inquirer, word of mouth, and the billboard in front of Town Hall was very effective, and we expect similar traffic in the future. We have the option to increase the days of the testing if the traffic swells. I'll let Tim Keeney talk about the Long-Term Recovery Committee later, but suffice it to say that we've signed an agreement with Everbridge, emergency notification. The season of giving has been a tremendous success today, with the generosity of our citizens contributing significant dollars that we can use for fuel assistance and other social services. My special thanks to all that contributed for this worthwhile outreach. Chris Powers, our new constable and a 24-year veteran of the state police, started work this week and was sworn in this past Monday. Kevin Mulry will be starting soon once he completes his certification. The addition of these two officers brings us to full staff police departments with significant coverage. That's the extent of my Selectmen's update. Any comments regarding what I've already indicated before we move on?
Not for me, bud. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda are boards and commissions. And we currently have 2 openings for the Emergency Preparedness Committee. And I would like to offer the following recommendations for the board's consideration. The first one is Bill Meyer, and I'll read his letter. In response to the first Selectman Nor's appeal at this evening's Board of Selectmen meeting, I would like to volunteer to serve in the Town of Somers Emergency Preparedness Advisory Committee. As you are aware, I have extensive experience in emergency management and emergency services. I am a 19-year veteran of the Vernon Police Department, where I serve as a lieutenant and spokesman. Additionally, I serve in the Town of Vernon's Office of Emergency Management, and am presently the Deputy Incident Commander coordinating Vernon's response to COVID. I have served in command-level roles in Vernon's Emergency Operations Center over many declared disasters for the last 10 years. I serve on the Board of Directors and Executive Committee of the North Central District Health Department. I am the President and Board Chairman of the North Central Area Agency on Aging. I am past Deputy Chief in the Somers Fire Department and an honorary member of the department. I am active in teaching police officers and emergency medical personnel in the Capital Region. The next, before we talk about these 2 gentlemen, the next recommendation I have is for Steve Jacobs to fill the other slot. He's our town sanitarian and has been actively involved in all these meetings, even though he's not an official member. So I guess the first item we should discuss is Bill Meyer, followed by Steve Jacobs.
I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of Bill Meyer as recommended by the first selectman.
You have a second? Tim? Is Tim on?
I don't know. He
Can
was?
you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Hi.
Have you heard of it, Tim?
I've been trying for the last 15 minutes to get into the meeting.
Oh, I thought you were in there already.
So I'm sorry that I've already missed, 5-10 minutes of it.
Well, you can just give a little brief.
Yeah, I
It
can.
was basically the selectmen's update, Tim. Right now, there's Bud is asking that we approve Bill Meyer to one of the boards and commissions. Bud, if you want to bring Tim up to speed.
Yes, we have 2 vacancies, Tim, on the Emergency Preparedness Committee here in town.
Yep.
And I'd like to offer Bill Meyer and also Steve Jacobs for your consideration as a board for their appointment to this committee.
I strongly support both candidates.
Okay.
I'll amend my motion to both, Bud.
Okay. Any additional
Second.
discussion? All in favor?
Second.
Aye.
Do you
Okay.
need a second or not?
No, you got it.
The
You don't need a second?
yes, I asked for a second. I thought you did, Tim. I'm sorry.
All right, I didn't hear that. All right, okay, go ahead.
The next commission member, read a letter, from Ann Levesque. The Somers Cultural Committee. Currently, there are 6 regular members of the Somers Cultural Commission and 7 honorary members. The commission was established to accommodate 12 regular members. Lynn Goss of 8 Somerset Lane in Somers is our newest applicant. Our voter affiliation is Democrat. She is very interested in becoming part of the commission because, in her own words, quote, "I want to be part of a town that continues to be enriched with cultural activities," unquote. I would highly recommend Lynn as a member of the commission. Please consider her for the Somers Culture Commission for a term ending December 2022. Sincerely, Ann Levesque.
How do you spell her name?
G-O-S-S, Goss. 8,
K-O-S-S. Okay.
yeah, 8 Somerset Lane.
Anybody know anything about her?
I don't know her. I'm taking Ann's recommendation.
He's the chairman.
But I'll make a motion that we approve the nomination as recommended by the chairman of the Cultural Commission.
Okay. Do I have
I'll
a-
second.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is the opportunity to add agenda items. Tim, you want to bring us up to date on the Long-Term Recovery Committee?
Yeah, is Glenn Reynolds on board here? He was supposed to
No,
be.
he's not. He had another engagement.
Okay. You know what that was? Because we had arranged to have him deliver a report. I'm prepared to give one, but I'm just curious.
Well, he basically gave the following statement, which I'll read.
Okay.
Everbridge emergency notification. Funding was secured and a one-year contract was signed and delivered to them yesterday. We'll be setting up training in the upcoming weeks and we'll look to be up and running with it very soon.
Okay, well, at our last meeting, which was on Tuesday evening, he reported that that there was grant funding available.
That's correct.
He wasn't sure how much, but said that he could find that out later. There was concerns were raised about having too many users as being a way to turn off people if they do sign up for it. That's a big concern because it's been an existing concern in many towns already, especially in Manchester. And Bill Meyer talked about that. There was a question about. He mentioned the contract would be in hand the next day. As he reported, there's a contract signed?
Yes, I signed the contract based upon 1 year, not 3 years, it was originally recommended.
Okay.
So that's been done.
And you mentioned there was already a grant in that contract, right?
Yeah, we did check with...
So you've already reported on this, is that right?
Yeah, Brian, what's the name of the funding? EMG?
Yeah, so we checked with the State Department, Homeland Security, the EMPG grant, Emergency Management Preparedness grant.
And it is covered under that grant.
And the cost of Everbridge is it's an allowable cost under that grant.
So they'll
it is a reimbursable grant, so after we spend the funds, we then submit for reimbursement and are reimbursed for the expenses.
100%?
Yes.
Yeah, great. That's news.
We found out Wednesday morning. We had an email from Demas Wednesday morning about it.
Great, fantastic. There were issues raised about how to blast out the information about the program, and which of course leads right into the marketing issue as well. Since there's basically two sides to this, of course, there's the white pages and yellow pages, which is always there for emergency use. But then there's the supplemental program that asks for people to sign up for. It includes such things, of course, as sectors that would be of interest would be the recreation committees, schools, transfer station, DPW, senior center, and then we would need to know as well as what ways do people want to be communication, whether they want to receive it on text, email, or voice. And how the system's big concern of Allison and the chairman and were how the system's going to be maintained, which is a big concern once it gets set up. And another issue was how do you measure success, and who's going to be the gatekeeper with regards to information. As you recall, at our last meeting, one of the big concerns was that our current arrangement is we have communication through silos, basically departments of the town, and that the information gets put out in accordance with the way the department wants to do it, and it's put out in different ways and with different quality and different. It's received. There's not one person overseeing the quality and of the information. So there was. This was thought to be a new tool for the town in communicating. Of course, the committee has recognized that as we've reported, as being a particular interest to people in town, how to improve communication. And I guess that there's questions about, is there an individual that might be considered to be kind of a gatekeeper or someone that with communication experience and knowledge that might be helpful in this regard. And one of the people that was discussed was Megan Krementowski, who I believe works as a communications specialist for the rec department and has significant experience with the JI, and she's an experienced communicator. So that's basically the report. Any discussion?
Yes, Megan has been working part-time, but I think that situation is going to end. She's not being fully utilized. We have hired a new assistant director of recreation.
Right, at our last meeting.
Yes. We're going to hold off making a decision on Megan pending the involvement of the new assistant director. But in my opinion, I don't think she's being effectively used. So that's a separate issue. In terms of the communication outreach, the way I understand this particular program, this is for an emergency situation, and people can opt to sign in based upon the kind of information they wanted to receive. I guess my concern is, how much are we going to load onto this particular function? I mean, it should be a social, should it be a recreation, since we have all these other aspects in terms of communication outreach. As far as coordinating the town's effort, I would like to suggest that it go through Kim LaFlores, and she's been very active in terms of the Facebook posting, as well as the town website, as well as her organization as it relates to Summers Connect magazine. We can tailor that information based upon all information received from other departments. For example, fire, Summers, senior center, recreation, etc. They know better than any of us here in terms of the specifics as it relates to their department, but we can coordinate that response. I don't know enough about Everbridge, Tim, to make a statement in terms of its effectiveness. We've asked about that in terms of what other towns have seen and how it's worked with those towns. I get to see that information.
But you've already signed a contract, right?
We signed a contract, that's correct.
Yeah, so I guess, to Tim's point, we got, now that we have the product, we got to figure out how to administer it and then measure it for success, so we decide whether or not we renew it next year. Right?
And how to best utilize it as well as a resource.
I think for emergencies.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, obviously the contract's been signed with the approval of the board and the recommendation made by the long-term recovery committee. But again, the specifics in terms of the parameter, what's included in that, I think that has to be fleshed out.
I think
so
the committee talked about how it's been used in other towns, and I think there is an option here an opportunity to use it in specialty areas. This supplemental that goes beyond emergency, but also brings households into the communications link with where they sign up for, that they're particularly interested in. And so I'm just saying that opportunity is part of this whole package, and that it's not strictly just emergency.
Yeah, so what if we make a recommendation back to the Preparedness Committee to prepare for us how they would like to see it implemented, managed, and measured? Because obviously this will come up for renewal next year. We need to know whether it's been a good investment or not, but I think the best perspective on that would be outside this room. Let's get the committee to tell us how they want it implemented, how they want it managed by a facilitator, whether that's Kim or someone else.
I think
And how they're going to measure the public's acceptance and use.
No, that's something we've discussed, but we were hopeful that there might be a little bit more input from the selectmen. But because again, this whole communications issue is probably the biggest issue that was recognized as being in need of improvement in town.
I think it's improved.
Sure, but they've got the data, Tim. Why don't they use the data and tell us what the public wants? Because I don't know what recommendations that committee has based on the survey that they've spent so much time and effort understanding that could help guide us. And I wouldn't want to make a decision without consulting them. I think they've put a lot into it, and I'd like it to be valuable for them.
Yeah, I was hoping that Glenn Reynolds would be in the meeting tonight because again, he was going to be the lead for this report, and I was going to provide additional information if necessary. But so anyway, I guess we just have to wait for our next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks, 10 days from now, 12 days from now.
It's okay. Send them an email and have them work on some stuff.
I do want to make a comment about communications, which I thought was pretty interesting. We had less than 2 days to notify everybody in regards to this walk-in or drive-by clinic that we had for COVID. Yet 101 people showed up. So I thought our communication outreach was pretty effective, utilizing a lot of different methods, which I elaborated.
Absolutely. That was a fantastic way to get the word out. Allison was explaining how all the departments were contributing, and it worked. Speaking basically one voice. The word was put out very quickly. Yeah, that was mentioned, in fact, at the meeting Tuesday night.
Yes.
Absolutely. Great success. Absolutely. No question about it. But just because of that doesn't mean that it's going to work in other venues as well. That's my point.
I understand. As I said before, Tim, we can always improve communications. We've tried different methods, which I think were pretty effective, as demonstrated by what happened here with the drive-through clinic. Now, in terms of this Everbridge, adding some additional parameters to our communication outreach, I'm all in favor of that. But I guess we need to define exactly what's going to be included in that, what people want from it, and how effective it's going to be. That's the reason we all agreed to sign only a 1 year's contract to test its effectiveness. I don't want to commit to 3 years. Fortunately, we have the funding for that, but let's see how we can utilize it to best affect our communication outreach.
Okay, but at the same time, you got to be able to describe the breadth of the communication that you're trying to take on.
We can. It seems like we're going around in circles. I don't know that we can make a decision without input from the commission. I think they've got the data. I'd like to see what they recommend.
Okay, I just received a text from Glenn, which I'll read to you in just a minute.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
I think it's Glenn. Yeah.
It says, sorry, I was tied up on a call, but watching the meeting. Step 1, Everbridge includes training so we can better understand how we can set it up. Mm-hmm. That's from Glenn.
Or John, yes.
Right. Training for department heads, exactly.
So let's hear what they have to say. And then we can decide which way we want to go forward here.
Did Glenn indicate when that might initiated?
I think he said it was going to happen very soon, as always said. Upcoming weeks. Yeah. That was his comment. So we'll look to him to get us a specific date on that, Tim. so we can set up and
Okay.
determine exactly which way we want to go here.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any additional opportunity to add agenda items?
Yeah, I've got one that relates to the revaluation. Because as you know, the letters have gone out and households have received the revaluation for the last 5 years. It's a 5-year cycle.
That's correct.
And the revaluation, and I did a little bit of discussion about it at Rotary last night as well, that the revaluation has resulted in somewhere usually in the range from 10 to 40% of an increase in assessment.
That's on certain cases. In other cases, the assessment has actually gone down.
Okay, I'm only aware of, I'm only talking about households is all I'm aware of.
Right.
It has gone down with households?
Yes.
Okay.
But Tim, we've got the numbers here. The average in town was 6% for real estate was the average increase.
For 5 years?
Yeah, it was the average property value increase in town was 6%.
Okay.
Yeah, I got mine. It was nowhere near 40.
And commercial was 4%.
Mine was 40, by the way. So my concern is that do people have a way of understanding when they get this increase as to how it relates to, as you said 6% average. I mean, if that word is put out there, that'll give people a gauge as to whether or not they should be concerned about whether the increase in their house is accurate or not. Because you can't look at this just in the context of your own house. I don't think. I mean, I think it would be helpful to understand how it was, what the results were townwide.
We have put out.
Everyone has an opportunity to contact the vision appraisers, and as of this afternoon, 51 people have already set up appointments on the phone or Zoom with those appraisers. That represents 1.5% of all the town's property owners. My understanding is from Vision it's typically at 3%, so we were expecting more for all. So they have on the notice a number they can call. They can speak to a Vision person about it, get clarification, to get an explanation, and then if that person is still not happy, they re-instructed that on the website are appeal forms, and they can actually appeal that to the Board of Assessment Appeals if they so desire. So,
right. I think that
process.
I think that was one of the concerns was that if people just looked at their assessment, how would they have an indication of whether they should be going to the Board of Appeals to seek relief if they don't understand how their assessment relates to others?
I think all they need to do is call the assessor, the division assessment company that did it. It's I guess the phone number is with the notice, and they'll have that explanation. They can have a discussion. They can call the town assessor too if they'd like.
Okay. And then once the assessment is completed, I guess is there an appeal period, and then it gets locked in? Is that how?
Yes.
Yes.
There's an appeal form. They fill out the form, set up an appointment. Used to be here at Town Hall in person. Now it'll be a phone or Zoom meeting. And then the Board of Assessment listens to that. And if it's tied with the decision of our Board of Assessment Appeals, they can then take it to court. There's property court in New Britain, Connecticut for this kind of activity.
Okay, and then I guess in the end, it would be helpful, I think, for people in town to understand how this affects the mill rate and whether there are additional funds raised as a result of.
It's way too early to tell that, but we'll know that during budget time, and that'll be a consideration in terms of the mill rate, or how does it meet the expenses, et cetera. And that'll be a dynamic activity be between the selectmen and ultimately the Board of Finance.
And so there would be transparency in regards to how the new assessments affect the revenue, and therefore would reflect an adjustment of the mill rate.
Yes, correct.
Okay, great. Again, I think it's just that this is the kind of thing that I think households would be interested in. I mean, you may say, well, hey, they could, I don't know, I'm just throwing it out there.
I think there's a process set up, as Mike has indicated, Tim, where if people aren't pleased with their assessment, they have the right to appeal it. And I'm not sure exactly the success rate of that. I guess it depends upon the individual property, the market conditions, which Vision obviously does an independent study, and they come up with that analysis. I'm not that familiar with it. So, as I indicate, in certain cases, some assessments have gone down. As Brian has indicated, the average overall assessment has gone up approximately 6%. I don't know what your number is, but if you're not happy with it, I guess you can go through the process of appealing. Just like
is that 6% a year or 6% over 5 years?
6% over 5 years. So in other words,
again, I'm just trying to
6% total.
6% since the last assessment, which was 5 years ago.
Right.
Yeah, it's just Bud Devlin was at the meeting, and again, he was concerned that his Board of Assessment Appeals, which he's been on for years, would be flooded, but for information out there about how an individual household might compare to other households in town.
That's what
I mean. Typically, there's no guarantee here, Tim. I mean, if people want to complain there and object, they're going to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
I don't remember the number on the last round, but obviously you get a bump in appeals every 5 years when you have a reassessment. So. I mean, he should know that. I mean, it happens.
Well, of course.
He's the chairman of the committee.
Yeah.
But as I recall, it was pretty clear on the notice that I got what to do if you wanted to appeal.
Well, that's not the the issue is whether people think they should be appealing or not, and if they don't know, they'll their inclination is, well, just appeal this and see what happens. So that's the concern, that you may have a flood of homeowners appealing to the Assessment Appeals Board.
Yeah, you may.
Okay, so
well, I don't think they'll get to that board. If they need clarification, they should be calling either the town assessor and or Vision, the company that did it.
okay.
That's part of their duty, is to talk to the taxpayer and explain it to them. That's what we're paying them for.
Good. That's helpful. I think, and this discussion I think will be helpful as well to the town. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Any additional items, gentlemen? Okay, next on the agenda is the authorization for scheduled payments, which I think Brian sent out to both of you this afternoon.
Yeah. I had an opportunity to speak with Brian about 10 or 15 different items, and he answered my questions, and I'm satisfied with what's in the package. In fact, I'll make a motion to accept the payment authorization schedule as presented, which would authorize an increase of $357,639.92.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any additional discussion? Motion passes. All right, I will sign this, and I assume with your approval.
Absolutely.
Okay.
thank you.
Okay. Approval of minutes.
I looked those over. I didn't have any corrections, Bud.
Okay, that's November 19th. Tim,
Right.
Yes. Yep.
you all right with it?
I've got one change
Okay.
under the Long Range Emergency Planning Committee,
Yep.
which would just be a little more accurate if it said that. Then it talks about how then it went on to explain that in working with other towns in the state region, Region 3,
Oh,
which is the region that Summers is in,
Okay.
it is 6 to 8 weeks ahead of other towns.
Of other towns in the state.
In the state. Right.
Okay, we'll make those changes.
Sure.
And then at the end, let's see, last statement. Yeah, the state now is encouraging other towns to do the same as Summers to pursue. I would take out to pursue long-range emergency planning. Period.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
so
Motion to approve as amended.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Thank you, gentlemen.
Stay
Guys,
safe,
see you in
everybody.
January.
Is our next meeting is in 2 weeks?
Oh,
2 weeks.
Good
Yeah,
luck,
cool.
Brian.
Right.
We'll be
Yeah.
thinking of you.
Going in for surgery.
Yeah, by the way, acknowledging Brian's last day is today. We'll have the surgery next Wednesday. He should be out for
Monday.
approximately a month, but out of pocket for about a week. Necessary arrangements have been made to carry on in his absence. And if they carry on successfully, Brian, which indicates he may not be necessary. in terms of,
That's nice, yeah.
That severance package. So I'll take the severance package.
okay.
Brian, I'll miss you.
Yeah. Good luck, Brian.
And bye,
Best wishes,
everybody.
Brian. Be well.
Thanks.
Be
Thanks,
well.
guys.
Okay, Brian. Goodbye.
Bye. Stop this. Unplug that. You can plug that.
Here.
Yeah.
Pull it up.
Yeah. You ready? Pull.